Blessed is the way wherein you walk today, for there is prepared for you a place of rest.
I'd like to start a new series on themes from this new book, The Ethics of Beauty by Dr. Tim Patitsas. It's really good. The first thing that I want to share with you is about the topic of morality. So we, as a society, have done morality badly. And so it has wounded us and led us to almost lose morality entirely as a society. Because what we do is we say, don't do this because it's bad and do this because it's good. And the problem is, if you are always just focusing on what you should not do, don't do this, don't do that, all you tell your teenagers is don't drink, don't smoke, don't party, don't have sex before you're married. And so what happens is we learn that our desires are bad. And then maybe we just stop desiring because everything I want is bad for me. So I evidently just shouldn't want anything. And that's a problem because then we're defeating a power of our soul. And if all you ever say on the other side is do this because it's right, you should look nice because that's what's societally acceptable, and you should be kind to your neighbors just because that's what Christians do, and you go into this should sort of modality instead, then we've lost the sight of why we should do those things. And so a lot of those people who hear those things and think those things still don't do them, or if they do, then they normally do it without love, without their heart really being in it. And so in both of these ways, we have defeated our capacity to desire, and we have defeated the reason why we desire, because there's no purpose in these things we should do. And so we get sick, and we've lost sight of what morality is altogether. So the good news is that the Orthodox have a better way to do this. So how do the Orthodox approach morality? We don't. Or at least not head on. We understand that our actions come from our desires. And so the real battleground starts in the desires and not just in the things that we do outside. So our goal, if we want to do good, our goal is to love what's good. And that's Christ. If our goal as Christians is to act like Christians, to act like Christ told us to act, to live in a way that's worthy of the gospel, then that has to begin for us with loving the gospel, with loving Christ. And our desires will draw us in to doing what he did. That's why St. Porphyrios said, you can't become holy by fighting evil. He used the analogy of your soul as a garden. And there's a section of weeds and there's a section of vegetables. And if your attention is always on those weeds, he said your attention is like the water source. If your attention is on the weeds, then the weeds will get watered and they will grow more. But if your attention is on the vegetables or the beautiful flowers, then the water goes there and those things grow, and the weeds will eventually wither because they're not getting watered. So he said, you can't become holy by fighting evil. Instead, fall in love with Christ. Because once our desire is directed in the right way, that will lead us all of our lives in the right way. So it says in the gospel, the Lord said, the truth will set you free. Now, we're confused about all sorts of things involved in this sentence because first and foremost, we've forgotten that the truth is a person. The truth is Jesus Christ. It's not a set of rules. It's not an objective reality that we think in our brains. The truth is the Lord himself. So it's he who will set us free. And what does it mean to be free? In our society today, for the most part, being free means that you get to do whatever you want, which maybe is the opposite of what most of us would associate with morality. But the truth underneath there is that the Lord, loving the Lord, will set us free to do good out of the goodness of our hearts. Not to do good because we're constrained to do it, or because we should, or because we're supposed to, or because something else is bad. He will set us free to be good like he is good. And what's the beginning of that verse? He says, if you abide in my word, then you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. So the first part is abiding in the word. As the Psalms say, to delight yourself in the Lord, to live with him, to abide with him, to be in relationship with him. And that is what will set us free to do good and to be good and to be like him. So in his book, Dr. Timothy Patitsas, he uses the three philosophical transcendentals to describe this whole process. So that's beauty, goodness, and truth. So the beauty is this love for Christ, which we can also call our faith. We can also call it eros. And goodness would be sort of, I don't think the Orthodox would ever really just call it morality, but the actions that are good, that are compassionate towards other people, the actions that would lead you to be empathetic and to do good for others, just like the Lord did for us. And finally, the truth is Christ himself. It is theology, is the knowledge of him who is the truth. Now, if we start with trying to be good, we've lost our purpose and our power for being good. We've taken that goodness out of its context. So what we need to do is start at the beginning, which is with beauty. And this is the whole idea of falling in love with Christ, falling in love with his beauty, with his goodness, his image, and that beauty will call us to respond by becoming like him. And then we'll become good ourselves. We have to start at the beginning. If we start in the middle, just trying to be good because good is good, then we don't have the power to actually do what we're trying to do. So how do we start loving beauty if we haven't yet fallen in love with Christ? Or if that isn't quite powerful enough in our life to move us on to being good? The trick here is actually asceticism, which you might not expect, because we've confused asceticism with morality, and it's not the same thing. Asceticism is about making room in our hearts and our souls for the love of God. It's about removing our false loves, so that our hearts are free, or at least available, to receive the one true love. So we don't fast because food is bad. We fast because we want our pleasures to not be coming from sensible things. We want to be making room for our pleasure to be found in the Lord. And this could happen in any of the realms of places where we need to remove false loves, not just fasting or prayers or things like that. So if we want to become good and do good things, we have to first make it our life's aim to fall in love with Christ. Because goodness is not just an objective reality. It's not just like a set of rules. Goodness is a description of God. And loving Him is what will teach us what goodness really is. We cultivate this love by pulling the false loves out of our hearts, by redirecting our attention away from the things that distract us to make more room for us to see the beauty of the Lord. We can do that by immersing ourselves in the church services, in daily prayer, in the liturgical arts. We can find His beauty in the scriptures and in the people around us and in the lives of the saints and in the natural world. If only we had the eyes to see, we would be able to find this beauty all around us, shining like the sun. And that beauty would call us to become good and to know Christ and to be with Him.
Blessed